we've got a bit of good news actually. Lidl's plant-based sales surpassed targets, shooting up nearly 700%. This is, I think, fair to say, a little bit surprising news. In the recent, market for plant-based meats, it's been no secret that sales of some of these products have been not as hot as they were sort of 5 years ago. And the interesting thing about this is that they set this target, or rather they set a target, I think, for a 400% increase compared to 2020. So they set this target in 2020, which I think of as somewhere near the height of sort of plant-based mania for all of these kind of products, right, coming out. And the Burger King releases and the, well, McDonald's I think was a couple of years later, but there was a lot around 2020. And so I think that at that time, saying we're going to increase our sales by 400% by 2025 wouldn't have seemed crazy to say that at the time with all the hype. But subsequently, I wouldn't be too surprised to see producers, backing off that. And in fact, Tesco had a similar target, if you recall. I think they were going to have a certain percentage of their protein supply coming from alternative proteins or plant-based sources or something like that by 2030, that was. And they have, abandoned that and said it's not going to happen. But Lidl reporting much better news. Lidl GB has announced that it's exceeded its 2025 sales goal for own-label plant-based products, achieving a staggering increase of almost 700%. The discount store chain had originally set out to increase its sales of meat and dairy alternatives by 400% this year, but has revealed it smashed its target already with a 694% increase. This significant milestone is part of the supermarket's wider commitment to increasing its plant-based protein offerings, aiming for them to make up 25% of total protein sales by 2030. I read on another source that that figure was 11% in 2020 when they set the target, and then it's now up to 17%. I think I'm remembering those numbers right. So it looks like they're pretty much on target to get to 25% by 2030, which is fantastic. The success of the supermarket's Vermondo plant range has been a key driver, with sales of plant-based products outperforming meat alternatives. Okay. This must mean like other meat alternatives. By nearly 20%. Are Vimondo not meat alternatives? I think they are, right? Oh, Vimondo plants, maybe not. Oh, okay. So these are more like falafel tofu. Okay, that's plant-based meat. Okay, so this looks like it's a bit of both. But anyways, their own brand stuff that has done really well. And I think it's because it's cheap as hell, right? It's cheaper in a lot of cases than the equivalent animal products. And now this is not necessarily the case for a lot of these alternative proteins, particularly kind of the brand names, right? There's a lot of pound for pound, they can be much more expensive still than their animal product counterparts. But yeah, the own brand ones, and especially the Lidl own brand ones, I guess are doing very well. New products with prices starting from £1.49. Not sponsored by Lidl, by the way, but just wanted to share this good news because it's against a backdrop, as I say, there's a lot of plant-based sales not being as hot as they were a few years ago. And here's Lidl, who had this target to increase their sales by 400%, and they've absolutely smashed it. They've nearly doubled it, with sales that stuff 700% up from 2020. So well done to Lidl, and it's a good beacon for, beacon of hope for plant-based. We also had the return of the Greg's Vegan Steak Bake recently, which was very exciting also. So, it's not all doom and gloom for vegan products out there. Actually had another one here. Meat juggernaut JBS launches new plant-based company. This is today. The world's biggest meat company is launching a new leader in the European plant-based food. So this is actually a merger of Vivera and the Vegetarian Butcher. You might have seen either of those brands around. And it's now going to be the Vegetarian Butcher Collective. But it does say also in this article that they're going to be maintaining the separate brands. So you might not necessarily notice this on the shelves, but I think what it essentially is these companies are now going to come together and, you know, share technology, share resources, maybe they move their teams around and stuff like that. They're owned by the same company, right? JBS bought Vivera back in 2021 and bought the Vegetarian Butcher from Unilever earlier this year. So they're now going to bring them together, and the Vegetarian Butcher CEO Rutger Rosendahl says, "For me, this feels like the start of a bold new chapter, an opportunity to further accelerate the food revolution and release even more animals from the food chain by bringing tasty and nutritious products to consumers." So that's pretty bold for a CEO who's just been acquired by the world's biggest meat company. More power to him, I guess. So this seems like good news. This is a merger of the Vegetarian Butcher and Vivera under JBS, which some people might have something to say about that, right? I think that from my perspective, we have to allow these big food companies to stop doing animal slaughter and start doing something else. And so, you know, I'm always one to celebrate, you know, the McDonald's plant-based burger, Burger King, whatever it may be. Okay, yes, these companies sell animal products and, you know, primarily sell animal products, but if we don't sort of allow them to move towards plant-based, well, what else are they going to do, right? They're just going to keep selling animals and lobbying in order to be able to do so, right? What we want to be doing is making opportunities in this space look as appealing as possible for the likes of JBS, frankly. They're going to put a load of resources into this now, and yeah, they're aiming to become the top brand of meat alternatives in Europe. And good luck to them.